Hi guys, it's me Regina. So I've been getting a lot of questions on YouTube and on my fertility Instagram. If you don't follow it, I'm gonna put the link below and make sure you check me out. Follow me on my personal and my fertility IG. Anyway, I've been getting a lot of questions about my IVF process, and I did not really want to do a video about my process because no two people protocol or steps is going to be the same. So I didn't want to tell you the things I've gone through with my IVF and then you started and you like, oh girl Gina, you lied. That's not what happened. So instead I wanted to do a video about the things I wish I knew before starting IVF, and I hope you enjoy. And like always, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye. Shots. Oh my God. The amount of shots you have to take while doing IVF, I was not prepared for that at all. Like, nothing would have been able to prepare me for that. And the main reason is because I'm somebody who, I've never liked needles. Like, I cannot stand needles. I'm that person that when it was time for me to get blood drawn, it didn't matter if I was grown as hell or if I was a child. Whenever it was time to get blood drawn, I would not look at the nurse. I wouldn't look at the nurse. I wouldn't look at the needle going in. I literally, the last time I got blood drawn, keep in mind, I'm 37 years old. This was me in the clinic. So needles and me are not friends. So starting IVF was really a scary time for me because of the needles. So when you first start your cycle, you're going to be on birth control for 1 month. And then after that month, if all your tests come back right and on point, then you start injections. I had 3 different medications. I had Flowlestem, I had Menopur, and I had Central Tide. Yeah. And sometimes you take you got to take them at the same time every day. For me, it was evening injections, so you had to take them the same time every day. So for the first week, it was just Menopur and Central Tide. So you had 2 injections per day for the first 5 days. And then after that, you add Central Tide in the morning. So I had Central Tide injections the second week in the morning, and then I had the 2 injections of Flowlestem and Menopur in the evening for 10 days. And then when it's close to time for your retrieval, you have another shot, which is a trigger shot. Okay, so you got your I think it's an HSG trigger shot. So you have that. And then depending on your doctor and your cycle, you have yet another shot. You have like a progesterone shot, which I hear goes in your bum. For me, I did not have the shot. I had the progesterone insert, so which was kind of gross because they don't give you like a stick or anything to put it in. You had to take your finger and put the stuff up your stuff. It was kind of gross. It's kind of gross. It kind of reminded me of yeast infection cream. That's what it reminds me of. And you're going through this for 10 days. Now, if your pregnancy test is positive, you have to take either the progesterone inserts or the progesterone shots for the next 10 weeks of your pregnancy. So it's like shot, 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 shot. When I think of shots, I think of, I don't know, vodka, you know, Patron, maybe some Captain Morgan. Yeah, I love rum. Maybe some Captain Morgan. So the idea of actual shots, I was not here for it, but you have to do what you have to do for this journey. I commend all of the women who can stick themselves. That was not me. I'm fortunate to have a spouse that gave me my injections. It was inconvenient at times because you have to get your injections the exact same time every day. You cannot miss a day. It doesn't matter where you at. It was times where my wife worked the evening shift, but I was off, so I would have to go to her job, wait for her in the parking lot, and she would come in the parking lot and give me an injection. Okay, it was one time my best friend and his wife had a party at their house, and it's a house full of people, and we're asking them, is it somewhere we can go to give ourselves an injection so I could take my fertility injection? Keep in mind, they were the only people who knew that we were doing fertility. So when people overheard us talking about an injection, they were looking at us like, oh my God, is they crazy? Are they doing dope in here? That's the look they gave. I don't think that's what they thought, but that's definitely the look that they gave. The next thing is time. Everything with IVF is about time management. Everything has to be done at a certain time. Your injections have to be done at a certain time. Your appointments have to be done at a certain time. You had to have your appointments in the morning. You cannot have any appointments like after 10 a.m. or 2 p.m. All of my appointments was even 7 a.m. or 8 o'clock every morning, okay? You have to make sure your time is good because your injections has to be done at a certain time. Another thing with time in IVF is things change. So make sure, I would say make sure you have a discussion with your job and let them know you're going through IVF and let them know all the ins and outs of IVF because time is everything. It was sometimes where your appointments may change. It was times where your appointment may be a day that you didn't expect it to be. It's, you know, you may have to leave work. It was a lot. It was a lot. Appointments, I went to the doctor every other day, including weekends. So typically it was like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday morning, or Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Monday. And that was a lot because my wife and I both work. I have to be to work by 8:30. My appointments was sometimes 7, sometimes 7:30. They could run for an hour. It's a lot. It's a lot. If you are somebody who entire life is on schedule, like you have a daily planner and you live your whole life off of that planner, you need to find a way to get rid of that before you start IVF. If not, your journey is going to be a little bit more difficult because nothing will stay on schedule. Nothing goes the way the plan is. It's basically on IVF, you're living one day at a time. Numbers. If you're hearing something beeping, please disregard it. My wife installed a new security system in our house and the cameras beep if the wind blowing outside. She thinks we live in Fort Knox, okay? But whatever. Numbers. Numbers is very important. And when I mention numbers, I'm really talking about your egg count. Okay. When you're doing IVF, the medication is basically increasing your number of eggs and it's increasing the size of your eggs, basically, so the sperm, it's easier for the sperm to grab them. Okay, that's my definition. When you do your retrieval, right before your retrieval, they will do a sonogram. When you going through IVF, you will go to the doctor every other day, and every other day you will get your blood drawn, and every other day you will have a vaginal sonogram. Okay, I'm not talking about the sonogram where they put the little gel on your stomach and rub the thing across your stomach. No, you're going to have a vaginal sonogram every other day. So if you aren't familiar with penis, or if you're not familiar with dildos, strap-ons, toys, any of those things, I recommend you become familiar with those things right now, because the sonogram stick feels just like a penis. So every other day, you're going to have a penis shoved up in you every other day. And it's literally like that. They could be shoving and twisting and turning, and that's that. So when you go to that appointment right before your egg retrieval, the doctor may say, oh, you have 10 eggs on your right side and you have 10 eggs on your left side. So you all excited, oh my God, I got 20 eggs, oh my God. And then you go in for the egg retrieval and they retrieve those 20 eggs. For me, they never retrieved any more than 13, okay? So after the retrieval, you'll come out, they'll tell you how many eggs you retrieved. The next few days, it's going to be about 5 days, because the eggs has to get to a blastocyst stage. That means it's the highest quality. Once it's at that stage, that's the better chance you have on it sticking. So it has to get to that phase. So they might have taken 20 eggs, but by the time the week is over with, that 20 may be down to 3. Okay? And then, so now you went from 20 eggs to 3 eggs. So now you're like, oh my God, I got 3 eggs. And then the next day, they're going to call you one more time. And they'll say, well, you have 2 now. And then the next phone call you will get will be like the day of your transfer. And they'll ask you, which one, how many do you want to transfer? So you went from 20 eggs to now 2 eggs. Both of them are at a good grade, like a AA or a BC. I'll do another video on egg grades. And then you have your transfer. I will say a side note, just because your eggs are a great quality or the highest quality, that does not mean that they will stick. And that's something that I had to learn, because I had great quality eggs, but for whatever reason they did not stick. So yeah, waiting. Everything is a wait with IVF. You have to wait for your appointments. You have to wait to see if the medicine is working. Then once they retrieve the eggs, that wait is probably the worst wait. That wait is probably worse than the 2-week wait, because when they take your eggs out, now you're waiting to see if they are going to grow. And if they start growing, are they going to continue to grow? Did they grow to the size that they need to be in order to transfer back into your body? It's a wait. And then after the transfer, you have to wait another 3 weeks. It's not really 10 days in IVF to take your pregnancy test. It's more like 3 weeks. It's closer to 15 days. You have to wait to take the pregnancy test to see if it even stuck. And then if you're fortunate enough to get a positive pregnancy test, now by this time you're about 4 weeks, because they took the eggs out, they fertilized the eggs, that's a week. Then the eggs growing, that's a week. They make you wait like 2 to 3 weeks before you take a test. So that's about 4 to 5 weeks. So now you're waiting for that. So now you're waiting for your next appointment to make sure that it's a heartbeat. And then once it's a heartbeat, now you're waiting again, because you want to make sure the baby continues to grow, and you need to get to at least a minimum of 9 weeks of your pregnancy before you no longer have to go back to your fertility doctor, and you can now go to a GYN. So everything is a freaking wait. It's like the whole IVF process is like a stop sign. You can't do anything. You can't go. You have to just be patient and just... The last thing is sex. When you're going through IVF, you're going to be asking, what sex? Ain't no sex around here, B. It's like you really have to make sure that, and this goes for both lesbian couples and heterosexual couples, make sure your partner go to as many appointments as they possibly can attend, so they can be informed on the entire process. It won't be any surprises. It won't be like, oh my God, you know, what now? It won't be any of that, because, child, I never thought I missed sex. I never thought I would ever miss sex in my life, okay? Until I went through IVF. It is so hard to be so attracted to your spouse that whenever you see them, you just want to jump on them, and you can't do nothing. Like, you can't do nothing. Like, nothing. Your doctor, most doctors don't even want you to exercise during IVF. I forget why. If I remember, I'll do another video about it. They don't want you to have sex. They don't want you to exercise. You can't be stimulated. You can't have anything going in and out of the vagina. No oral, because that was my first thing. I was like, okay, well, doc, can I at least get a little head? You know, I get a little bit. And you can't even get that, because having an orgasm will make your uterus and everything contracts, and it's just, you will be risking throwing your entire cycle in the garbage. So sex is a no-go. It's a no-go. And then during like the first phase of IVF, when you're taking birth control, sometimes one of the side effects of birth control is, at least the birth control I was on, it takes your sex drive away. So it's like, during that time, you can have sex, but you didn't have sex because you don't even want it. I mean, it was times we tried, my wife and I, this is TMI, it was times my wife and I tried to have sex this one time during the first cycle. I fell asleep. And I ain't never do that. I've never did. It was like my body was just not interested. My mind wanted it. My heart wanted it. Like, my mind and my heart was like, okay, wife, we about to be on some porn star, Pornhub, XXX.com-ish right now. But my body was just like, boo, it's not happening. Take your ass to sleep. So you really need to have a conversation with your spouse so they can be prepared, especially if you are a couple who, you know, have sex regularly. Like my wife and I, it can really affect your relationship. Your relationship really have to be strong for IVF. So the first phase during the birth control, you're not going to be interested in sex at all. Then when you want injections, your doctor forbids you to have sex. Then after the transfer, you can't have any sex. Then the 2-week wait, you can't have any sex. Then if you get a positive pregnancy test, you can have sex. But by then, you're so scared of miscarrying or, you know, something going wrong that you're too scared to have sex. So a lot of times, I know people who have gone through IVF, they didn't have sex until like their second trimester. So you talking about like the IVF process is maybe 2 months. Then 1 trimester of pregnancy is 3 months. So you're talking about 5 months of no sex. Like none. I think the sex part was probably worse than the injections. Like, I could stick myself with a needle, but my wife can't stick me with, forget it. It's just, have a conversation about sex before you start IVF. That way you and your spouse are prepared. You know, it's going to be, it'll either bring you closer together or it'll, you know, break you further apart. You know, for us, it allowed us to go on more dates, and we got to know each other more than what we already thought we did. And I got to be more delicate in a sense. I'm so hard and I'm so independent. I don't like help. I'm kind of like a guy with boobs, and this process allowed me to be soft, and it allowed my wife to step in and do her part to help me with whatever. I mean, it's an emotional roller coaster. So you can't have sex, so you got that emotional part, and then the hormones, because you're injecting yourself with hormones, that's making you emotional. So now you're horny, now you're crying, your stomach hurt from injections. It's a big mess. But if you're fortunate enough to get a positive at the end of it, it's all worth it.